Most of you already know that stories are a great tool to drive change. But what I often observe is that people start doubting themselves or getting really hung up when their stories don't land, and they think they have to run off and do a course to become a better storyteller. And I think there are small things that we can tweak or think differently about when it comes to storytelling that will actually have a fundamental impact in how well our stories land. Here are 3 ways to think about storytelling differently. Number 1, when we tell stories, we are prone to telling stories either about ourselves or about people we care about, but very, very rarely about the people who are listening to us. So often we talk about the research we've done or the customers we've interviewed and what they have said. That is in a work context, of course. And we move around with these stories and talk about either all the great things that we've achieved through the research or the insights that we gathered, or all the struggles that the customers have experienced. But that does not necessarily mean that an audience who's not linked into the value of customer will necessarily connect to what you're saying. So from the get-go, if your story is not about your audience, you've effectively lost them. Number 2, when we think about stories as a tool for driving change, we have to understand that stories are really a tool for connection. And in order to connect, we have to hook into something that's already there. So if I want to talk to my executive team or some senior stakeholder around why we should prioritize or reprioritize a certain feature, why I want to have more funds allocated for research and so on, I have to hook into their perspective on this and go from there. But very often what we do is sort of glaze over what apparently seems obviously the wrong point of view and start hammering down our perspective. And that really doesn't serve dialogue or conversation, and often comes across as patronizing or worse, ignorant and not understanding. So it is really important that when we tell stories that we acknowledge the perspective and the experience of the people we are talking with and to. Number 3, again, we often share insights or like findings or perspectives that we have come to over a period of time. And what I observe a lot of designers do when they present in front of key stakeholders is to start the story at the level of understanding that they're at, or they start the story linearly at the understanding they used to have, and again make the story about themselves. But the starting point for most stories is the starting point or the current space where your audience is at. So how might you, next time you tell a story, sort of meet your audience where they are at and then walk with them to where you need them to be for them to make a meaningful decision based on the story you've shared with them.